Miro exists now for many years, so you've been in the company for a long time. So I assume they went through different phases of growth with different focuses. So what was the difference maybe in a early like Series A in terms of like what you use for growth versus in the later stage?
What would you say is the single attribute that you had that allowed you to grow with the company?
Growth mindset.
Good, very nice. And what would you say in very simple terms was the key to Miro's success?
When we think of this self-serve way to to adopt the product, if we think of that logically, it's hard to imagine that it can be possible if your product experience is poor. So your product experience, your user experience should be excellent if you want this product to become successful, right?
You talked about a reverse trial. What is that? How does it work? And why is it so popular? If your users aren't the people with the credit card, probably putting the credit card is a conversion killer.
I personally haven't seen when one solution fits all works well. Personalization makes a difference, and it's hard to move the needle for activation. It's like such a stubborn metric.
What's a controversial opinion you have? It's a good one. All right, next one. What's your biggest or favorite fail?
Favorite fail?
All right, we are back with the now finally named podcast.
Finally.
The people have spoken. Well, they've typed on LinkedIn and they've chosen the name Grow with the Flow. For all you Queens of the Stone Age fans out there, you'll be chuffed. For most of you, that probably doesn't mean anything. So welcome to our fourth episode. And we are joined by Kate Syuma. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. We're really excited for this talk. Maybe as a quick intro. So Kate Syuma is a growth advisor and the founder of GrowthMates, which is essentially a place where people can connect, learn from industry experts. I know you've talked to a lot of different experts from companies like Dropbox, Amplitude, Canva, what have you, Coda, Atlassian. I have my notes here, so I'm definitely on point there. And quite notably, you were previously the head of growth design at Miro, where you spent more than 6 years. And you've also advised several companies. So really interesting to have somebody who comes firmly from that growth background. We've had a lot of discussion around what the hell is growth? Is it product? Is it marketing? Is it somewhere in between? So it's great to have you. And I'd like you to start with, what is your origin story? How did you end up at Miro? Because you joined very early on.
Yeah.
Where did all this start?
Oh, yeah. Let me get back in time, probably 10 years ago, let's say. I don't want to maybe start from the childhood or, kindergarten stories. So I was in Russia. So I'm originally from Russia, from a city called Perm, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere. We also called it Silicon Taiga because Miro first office was there. And that time the company was RealTimeBoard. And I was studying at university that time. And my education was like, I was trying to combine the things I was passionate about in my which was like some sort of art, some sort of educational stuff. And I chose the specialty, which was in the middle of something like connected to IT and also to some economics. So it was business informatics. So just a mixture of different disciplines. And that time I uncovered that I'm losing my connection to art, to craft. And that time user experience, user interface design was emerging. And I just realized I want to be a UI UX designer. My education wasn't connected to that. So I started learning myself, exploring that field. And then I uncovered that there is only one company in the whole city that I would like to work for, which was RealTimeBoard. But I felt like I'm absolutely not prepared for that job. I felt like I don't have enough experience. I need to work for some agency. So I started working for an agency, how a lot of designers start their career. And after a couple of months, actually, the recruiter from RealTimeBoard reached out to me. And I was like, no, it's not the right time. I need to work in an agency for the next 2 years. And maybe after that, I can join RealTimeBoard because it was quite famous in our small community and small bubble in that city. But I gave it a try. And over weekends, I did this home task, and surprisingly then I was sitting in similar room actually with Andre who sit and with other people who were in the founding team. We had a very long conversation. It was probably like sort of one-on-one conversation with Andre, and everybody else was just watching and observing. And after that conversation, I felt like, no, they will not give me an offer. It will not happen. But then it was my birthday, actually, and I opened my inbox, and there was the message from Andre, like suggesting me to join them.
Nice.
And I joined as a third UI UX designer at that time. There was not such a thing as a product design. And after that, for the next 6 years, I dedicated myself fully to growth, to the growth function that we started building that time. And I was product designer first, then I became a lead product designer when I covered like 5 teams maybe simultaneously. And then when hypergrowth happened, I transitioned to leadership, started building the team, and just ended up being the head of growth product design. So this is a nutshell maybe of the origin how I got here. Yeah.
That is a crazy story. Maybe to give people an idea, how many people live in Perm?
Less than 1 million. So it's not a very small city, but
it's not tiny.
If we compare it with other like big cities in Russia, like Moscow, and it's quite small. Yeah.
So you'd say it's kind of I guess like a fortunate coincidence that Miro at the time, RealTimeBoard, started in that city, or would there have been other ways for you to build this kind of career, or was it just right place, right time, right company?
I think that is exactly like that. So right place, right time, and probably, I also explored moving from Russia for a while, for a long time. And at that point, when I made a decision to join RealTimeBoard, I was thinking, should I stay here and join RealTimeBoard right now? Or should I just move to Europe, to United States and explore something there? And I made the decision to stay, and probably it was the right decision that time. Eventually I moved to Amsterdam, but it also happened probably at the right time, at a better time.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy.
Yeah. Good move career wise, actually, to decide to stay, I think. Yeah.
There was another moment, I think, 3 years after my start at Miro, I had another let's say decision-making point, because there was COVID. I got tired of living in Russia, and that was already the time when I really wanted to intentionally move forward and move from Russia. And I had an opportunity to join a company in New York. I wasn't looking for a job. They reached out to me, and that was just happened somehow. And that time I had to stay loyal to Miro for another 3 years, because I had this decision making, either I join this startup in New York right now and move there, or I stay at Miro, I grow into a leader, because I had this expectation from my manager. If you want to move to Amsterdam, you need to become a leader. This is the only way. And I was like, wow, it's interesting. I really want to be a design leader. And I stayed for another year in Russia and built the team here. And then I moved here to Amsterdam, to my team, actually, that I had to build. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And okay, so you said the company was 50 people when you joined, maybe even less?
A little bit more than
a little bit more.
50. Yeah, I was 63rd. I have a t-shirt with a number.
Yeah. Okay, and how many people
work?
Exactly. How many people work in Miro now?
I think around 2,000, a little bit less than 2,000. Yeah.
Okay, incredible. I remember meeting Andre when they first expanded to Amsterdam, and to my discredit, I remember thinking, "This is nice." But I had no idea what was coming. So what I'd be interested in is, you join a company when you're around 50, 60 people, and you're there until at least 1,000 plus. What was that like? Few questions. What was that like? What were the challenges? Were they what everybody would expect, or the challenges that people might not expect? And how did you manage to grow with that company? Because last week we were at an event where the founder of Lapaya, Rene Janssen, he said, every time you raise, you're lucky if you keep 20 to 30% of your leaders, because at every phase of the company, some people grow with the company and some people realize, I'm made for that previous stage and I'm going to go to another company in that stage. So what was it like? What were the challenges, and how did you keep growing with the company through this hyper growth?
Interesting. It reminded me about this thing that usually people are growing like slower than the company is growing. And what I was trying to do all that time is to grow with the pace of the company growth. So whenever this event happened, let's say Series A, Series B, Series C, I tried to understand what is the opportunity for me to go to the next position, to have a bigger scope or change the role somehow. And luckily it happened because I also had support from other leaders and stakeholders. And I think in terms of how was it? So in the beginning, when it was, let's say, startup, pre-Series A or just Series A happened, you just took all the responsibilities you can and just delivered, focused on high quality. It was very intense work. I enjoyed that. I just did everything. When you see the problem, let's say, I uncovered that there is no user research actually in the company, or it's not formalized, and I like structures, I like formalized things. So I started leading that, just took a lead and introduced user research practices. Then we started hiring user researchers. So it helped me to grow, let's say, to the lead product designer role. And then as a lead product designer, I just started taking more scope and more ownership. So first activation and monetization, then let's do the engagement. I can do it as well. Then 0 to 1 opportunity. Let's build Miroverse. I want to be a designer because I love the idea. So I just took a lot. And then I realized I cannot handle it myself hands-on. What's next? And next, you need to build a team. And my manager supported me on that. Exactly. I had this 1 year plan to grow myself into becoming a design leader, to hire the team, to onboard the team, to make the team successful. So that was another transition from IC to management and another chapter of my career. The most challenging part was exactly this moment, and because it happened during hypergrowth. The hypergrowth, COVID, like product is changing. The user base, like extremely grew in 3 months. So from 1 million, I think, to 8 millions. It was extremely fast. And the team grew also very fast. So one day we were sitting in this small room, all designers could fit in one room. The other day you have already 50 people and like almost 100 people in growth department. And that was very challenging, let's say, psychologically, and, just it was intense. And yeah, but I think just taking that challenge, uncovering the opportunities where you can take more scope, and then understanding how to delegate that scope was my approach to grow there. And I think that was super rewarding in the end, observing how the team, like who you built, who you established in the company, is successful. And some people are delivering experiences with the craft and quality that I cannot do myself, basically, because I'm a manager. I'm not a hands-on designer anymore. And yeah, so being also close to the business part was another good aspect of that, because for designers usually it's not super straightforward how to be focused on craft and still understand the business. You just sometimes don't think that these two things can be combined. But for me, both were equally important from the day one. So I tried to join all leadership meetings if I had that opportunity, and took notes, understand the vocabulary, and that helped me understand the product-led growth, basically. So this is how I learned product-led growth, from head of growth, from other people. And then I started using every like single definition in my work. So if we are improving onboarding flow, let's say, I was trying to connect it to the specific language, specific metrics, specific product, thinking. That also, I think, right now is something I'm super passionate about, like combining this business thinking with the user experience and just supporting others in that sense. Yeah.
Nice. So maybe I have a follow-up question. Maybe you have it prepared, but just in case. So yeah, obviously Miro exists now for many years. So you've been in the company for a long time. So I assume they went through different phases of growth with different focuses. So what was the difference maybe in a early like Series A in terms like what you use for growth versus in the later stage? So how did that evolve?
Absolutely. So I think it's also quite common in terms of my observations right now when I work with companies at different stages. When you're at Series, let's say pre-Series A, Series A, you are just establishing the growth team, and your focus is the entire funnel. So basically, you are focusing primarily on activation and monetization, and you're connecting them both in every single experiment. You're running a lot of experiments just to, to increase the speed of learning. So you can learn faster and understand what are the pain points and what you need to completely rethink, let's say, the business model. Should we continue use free trial or freemium or go to the reverse trials? Right now, it's like super famous model. And so this is the idea of the growth team in this Series A like environment or pre-Series A when you are just establishing it. When you are growing into like further phases of the product and the company, then you are trying to establish specific substreams and teams with the focuses. Like activation becomes a specific focus, and retention and monetization, and you just build the whole growth ecosystem, and it becomes like quite complex exercise. At the same time, you have a little bit more space to innovate than probably not just optimize. And then at the scale up phase, when you're just approach the Series C, let's say, and you have established growth function, then what I noticed also recently from other companies, the connection to the core product starts to emerge more like rapidly. So you're not focused on just growth optimizations. You are focused on the core experience. You get back to this core experience and you try to establish like very close connection with the core experience, because after a while, after optimizing every single step of the funnel, you realize that we need bigger swings, and we have resources for that. We are a big company, and I've noticed that more companies at that phase start kind of aligning core and growth and creating big projects around both like 0 to 1 core growth initiatives. So let's say like templates, experience holistically, like thinking of that as a product experience, not just growth optimization thing. And yeah, that is how it typically evolves, not just at Miro, but in other companies. I'm running a survey right now, by the way, about this topic. So it's quite fresh on top of my mind.
Nice.
Yeah, we're happy to put the link to that survey in the show notes if it's still running when we release this. Okay, I have a few kind of, let's say, more briefer questions. I think number one, what would you say is the single attribute that you had that allowed you to grow with the company?
Growth mindset.
Good, very nice. And what would you say, in very simple terms, was the key to Miro's success?
I think my answer to that would be the culture, the company culture. And I love the previous version of the cultural values. I still remember some of them, the definitions of some of them. Drive change and be open. Create a better version of yourself every day. And these cultural aspects are like, beyond anything else, they just drove the team and, their intention to create the next big things, one of the taglines also. And I think the culture is the primary factor in the success, not the product itself even, but what was behind that. And behind that was that team culture that was in the beginning, that was over different stages of growth. And I hope that it remains, some elements of that remains still in the company as it's growing.
What made you decide to leave and start for yourself?
That is an interesting transition to that topic. I will start maybe from my considerations about leaving, because I've been considering that for a while, taking into account that I've been in the company for almost for 6 years, and I started considering the next steps maybe after 5 years, like what's next. And for me, these considerations were like, should I stay here and explore what is beyond my current role and scope, or should I join another company and explore how can I, repeat the success,
Yeah.
let's say, which is quite a straightforward trajectory and reasonable trajectory. But the third idea that I had in my mind, also getting back to that moment when I shared that I had this offer from New York, I created a picture for me just to understand how I want to grow in the next 5 years. And there were some titles there, these fancy titles like I want to be a head of design, I want to be a VP of design, and maybe someday I want to be an advisor. But it was like super moonshot goal for me. But that time, I started thinking back about this picture, looking at that, and just trying to understand what is more interesting and passionate and curious for me right now. Is it like this VP track and just becoming a leader at a bigger scale, or another company or environment where it's like even more complex, or I want to try out this track with advising? And I had some people in my network who tried this advising track. I observed how their life changed, and some elements of that were interesting for me to explore as well. Can I make my life more flexible? Can I help others, not just one company that I will fully dedicate myself, but different companies? And can I maybe build something on my own? And these GrowthMates appeared, and I just realized, yeah, it's more risky. It's more like it's hard to imagine how my life will look like. There is a high level of uncertainty, but I'm gonna try it. When, if not right now? I don't have any kind of huge responsibilities at the moment. I don't have kids yet, so maybe it's the moment for me to explore that crazy independent track. And I started preparing myself, to be honest, for that, because it's a big one. It's a big transition. So I started like rebuilding myself, let's say, psychologically, just taking some time off to recover, to get some energy back, because I think I was quite tired also after working in an intense environment for 5 years. And then just started preparing myself like financially, and things like that. And then I made that decision to just step away when the team was more or less complete. There were 10 people in the team who were all amazing and quite autonomous. And I felt like maybe it's also good for the company to attract a new leader, because, sometimes management change is also healthy and good for company. I felt that it's a good moment for me to transition, to explore that independent track. And now here I am.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Miro is the perfect breeding ground for successful advisors. We see people like you, like Elena, like Eugene. You make it not easy for the rest of us, but it's awesome to see, and I think it's an interesting path. I want to jump into a little bit more into the nitty gritty of growth, and I want to start with a really straightforward question, but one that I was still hesitating. Should we talk about this? But I think there's still a lot of confusion. What the fuck is growth? And maybe we could make it, could you make it like very simple in terms of what are the kind of things in very simple terms? Imagine you have, let's say, a marketing or product person who, is adjacently familiar with growth. But, what are the things you're working on? I know you do a lot with onboarding, but maybe just you can give examples of what growth really encompassed, maybe at Miro or in general, or with the companies that you advise. What is it?
Very simple answer would be to think of growth as the way how your product can become successful through the product itself. It's about the product-led growth. I love the definition that product-led growth is like the ability to deliver self-serve experience in a way that your customers can engage, activate, monetize without any human interaction, basically. And what I love about that, when we think of this self-serve way to to adopt the product, if we think of that logically, it's hard to imagine that it can be possible if your product experience is poor. So your product experience, your user experience should be excellent if you want this product to become successful, right? But sometimes we are not thinking about that. Like, people are not writing about that. They are writing how to drive activation, how to drive retention, how to drive monetization. But it doesn't make sense these strategies, these tactics doesn't make any sense if the product quality bar is not enough. And when I start looking at products now, let's say as an advisor, I see so many bugs, UX problems and issues that without fixing them, you cannot think of any experiments, of any growth strategies. And this is what I really love. And sometimes what is also quite interesting, the product-led growth term PLG, right? It starts with the P, but we are talking not about the product a lot. We are talking about these tactics and strategies and, growth hacks even sometimes. But we need to start thinking of the product as a root cause beyond all of that strategic element. So this is my feeling right now, and this is why I say I'm a product-led growth plus user experience advisor. I'm in this intersection because I think it makes me more passionate about that, and I think it's exactly how I wish it should be delivered to the broader community, that we need to care about the product quality first. And then we can start applying different strategies, tactics, everything we learned from Reforge, etc. But before that, let's care about the quality of the product.
So maybe like a question to follow up on this. You said that now sometimes you look at other companies' product and you're like, okay, you really need to fix this before you actually can reach a bit this PLG motion. Do you have a few like concrete examples of some things that some company do that actually is really killing that thing?
Let me think. I have examples of good and high quality, and I can maybe explain the problems and give examples of like what others are doing quite well.
Sure.
I also wrote an article about that. So let's maybe think of the actual user onboarding. And sometimes people think that it starts on the first session when your user has the first session with the product. But actually, it starts way before that. It starts with the search. It starts with the website when your user is exploring the website. And when I look at a lot of websites of early stage or like not so early stage, for some reason, companies are not sharing the value of the product in a very concrete and concise and delightful even way. You can open the website, you will see a headline, what is that, what is about, then a city, and there is nothing else. But we are delivering the value, and we should show users what is that value. So that is, I think, one of the most common mistakes. If the product already exists and there is some quality and some value to show. And I noticed that Dropbox recently introduced a very nice way of showing the value of the product through this motion animation. You can scroll their website and find it there. Then talking about the actual experience, sometimes, companies are trying to introduce a lot of tooltips, a lot of educational materials, rather than making the actual core experience intuitive. Let's say, I will give an example with the same Dropbox, and I think that is not an ideal experience that they have with their sharing model window. The first time when the user opens the invitation dialog or sharing, there are several tooltips that show in how to use that. What is that? And this is a signal that maybe it's not that intuitive for users. If you need to show all of these tooltips simultaneously, like increasing the cognitive load, doing this like attention span experience. From the other hand, there is a beautiful product that I really like in terms of UX quality, Linear. It's like modern Jira. And what they have a super simple invitation dialog where there is like a link to share. You can switch to the invite with email. No tooltips, super clear, easy to get and understand. And I love when products are building first intuitive experiences. And then, if it's necessary, they introduce the user onboarding to the moments where it's really complex. And yeah, it's hard to do that, but in the long term, it pays off. It's like it pays off, and it defines the success of the product, I think.
This is a great quote that we can use somewhere is, if you have lots of tooltips, that's probably not good for your PLG motion. Yeah. One question I have, so obviously, Miro is like this PLG sensation, but Miro is also a very ubiquitously used simple product in the sense that lots of people in a company can use Miro. it has this broad range of potential use cases. It's very simple. It's on the, which is a great thing. You know, it's a very simple product. You can think about products like Loom or Calendly. Again, not the same because Calendly does one specific thing, but it can be used for many, many use cases. And it focuses on that product experience is just crucial because you need people with different goals and different ways of working to be able to enter the product and be able to execute their use case within the product. But what about products that are more complex, not from a deficiency in user experience, but just from the problem that they solve? Banking software for enterprise, for example, risk management. How should you apply a product-led growth self-serve motion in these contexts? Because I think it's one of the ones that I personally believe, yes, because I think that behavior of people try before buy is happening everywhere. But I still haven't heard a very strong, convincing case for the big enterprise company to prioritize kind of a self-service motion. And I'd be curious what your take is on that.
Yeah, I totally get it. So I think I agree with you that it can be the trajectory to explore. However, I think first it's like just reasonable to start with the sales-led motion there and then start introducing the product-led motion. Again, if you have the commitment, if you have this focus on polishing the quality of your self-serve version. I've seen examples when companies are just trying to introduce this product-led growth, but the quality and complexity of the product is so high, it's not intuitive at all, but it's just a waste of time and money. So if you really want to make it successful, just make it intentional, make it a pure focus for the team, build intuitive experience first, and then you can start exploring, experimenting with that. Another interesting idea maybe is to combine both, right? I've seen a lot of examples these days how companies are combining both, especially for user onboarding, because sometimes complex products are too complex for end user to understand how to work with that. Even recently, I've seen it on MailChimp, which is not too complex, but let's say relatively complex for non-tech savvy people who are trying to build their first email campaign. And what they have there is like the self-serve onboarding on the dashboard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like checklist experience. And on above all of that, you can book a call as a demo session just for yourself. And it's a combination of both human touch onboarding and self-serve onboarding. And you can see how it works and how it evolves over time. Let's say even products like Superhuman, they introduced this human touch onboarding, and they maintained it for a very long time, and I think they are still maintaining that. And one of the beautiful side effects of that is that you interact with your users a lot and you learn a lot about them during these demo sessions. So it's good for user because you can onboard them better. It's good for the business in early stages because you learn way more from these sessions rather than just introducing a checklist. So I love this combination. And for complex products that are not enough confident yet in their intuitiveness of the product, they can combine both methods, they can learn. And in terms of examples, I think Intercom might be an interesting example because they used to be sales-led for a long time. Now they are introducing interesting like trial motions, and also it's very complex product. They have a lot of sub-products, use cases, and they are trying to combine different learning methods. If you go and check their onboarding, you will see that they have the like learning materials, they have some guides, they have some video tutorials for different mental models. So I think but again, they have already quite a good and high quality bar in terms of user experience. So first, I would suggest to make it a focus, get the quality better, and then introducing the self-serve onboarding if you want to pilot the POG motion.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned earlier, and now spitballing it a little bit here, but it's just interesting. You talked about a reverse trial. What is that? How does it work? And why is it so popular?
You know, it's a better, question to ask Elena Verna, who shared a very good article about that recently. I think the popularity or like what is interesting right now about the whole concept of product-led growth. Like there is an increasing expectation and pressure on companies in terms of getting the revenue and like showing that you can monetize your product and get into profitability, get into the revenue targets. And the popular model that was quite, famous when Miro introduced the POG was freemium model. And freemium model helps you attract the top of the funnel and then deal with that somehow, like activate, engage, monetize. The conversion rate for a freemium is way lower than for a traditional trial model. This is why your kind of conversion and monetization happens too late, and to gain that amount of users and to convert them becomes like a very long-term play. And also it's not suitable for a lot of products. And now like companies are getting back to some methods or business models where the monetization or conversion can happen a bit earlier to achieve these revenue targets for investment purposes and other purposes. And this reverse trial is something in between the actual trial model and, let's say, ability to get back to the free version of the product if it's necessary. So basically, you can start using your product for free for some period of time. Usually some companies are asking for a credit card right now, right? Before you start using the product. I just checked the Dropbox onboarding last week and they started asking for the credit card, especially B2B product, especially if your ICP is like definitely the persona who can attach this credit card. So then you have some period of time using this product. Ideally, this time frame should help users build some sort of habit with the product, or at least get to activation. So 2 weeks, let's say. For complex products it might be longer. And then after that, you're either staying on this paid version or you have a chance sometimes to downgrade, not to downgrade, but to be on a free plan with like intense limitations.
Yeah.
And this is the model, and companies like Dropbox, as I mentioned, started adopting it. Canva is using that for already quite a while.
VDIO, for this podcast we start playing around with, is doing it.
Both B2C, B2B, but for B2B, I would say it's a more now interesting way of like exploring the product-led growth, but still like being careful about these revenue targets and expectations.
So maybe a follow-up question on this, because I see it more and more often that they actually ask to put your credit card details, before you actually try the product. So I'm actually curious about conversion-wise, because I would think that it's actually a conversion killer, because sometimes you just want to try a tool, you don't know if you're going to like it, and then you see like, okay, credit card details, all right, I'll try something else. How do you feel the credit card game here is actually impacting the conversion?
Oh yeah, if you ask me as a user experience, advocate, I don't like this idea. But if you ask me from the business perspective for B2B products, you're optimizing for let's say net revenue retention. You're optimizing for the revenue that will be long term for you, not just ad hoc purchase. This is why people who are intentional about using your product will attach the credit card. They will try. If they really are your ICPs and like your customers, they will stay if you deliver the value that you promised to deliver to them. And people who are less, the willingness to pay is lower, etc., they would probably continue using your free plan forever and you would never convert them. So it helps to maybe attract more promising and more like higher quality leads. And if they have the motivation, if you somehow build that motivation before that screen, through the website, through your communication, through the brand of your product, through many, many other things, they will attach this credit card anyways. And now, probably because the whole market is adopting that thing, it's becoming more familiar. Previously, kind of users were very distracted. Oh my God, I see this credit card field. I'm gonna just quit that page. But now it's a common pattern, right? And I think over time, users can be more, just used to that. And will not hesitate a lot if it's like if they have a motivation. But I don't have a strong opinion yet, to be honest. I would like to observe how it goes for big companies like Dropbox, Canva, how it goes for smaller companies at Series A plus, and then we can make a conclusion. Let's say.
Yeah, I think you actually said it in the previous question. You said, you know, if your ICP is the person with the credit card, and I think this is one of the things that it gets overlooked a bit in the wider community is, you know, product-led growth. It's sexy. It's new. It's not new, but it's new to a lot of people. People are like, oh, we have to do a freemium, or we have to do this, or we have to do a reverse trial. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to understanding those users. I think that is such an important thing. And, you know, if your users aren't the people with the credit card, probably putting the credit card is a conversion killer. If your users are the one with the credit card, then you could say that barrier to entry maybe filters out some of the, you know, users that are never going to pay, like you say. So I think that understanding of the user is so important. We're talking about PLG. We're introducing a new segment, which we decided about 5 minutes before this episode to do, which is, you know, explain that post. You know, shout out to Hot Ones for the inspiration. And we pulled up a LinkedIn post, and, you know, in the edit, we will be pulling up the post here, and people will be seeing it in the video. And it's a post where you talk about, you know, 3 common mistakes companies make in onboarding and how to solve them. And I'd love to get your input on all the context behind that post, because I know you do a lot of stuff with onboarding, and what your experience has been for companies that, let's say, have a pretty basic onboarding experience or have a purely human-driven onboarding experience.
Yeah.
What are some of the mistakes? What are some of the things they can do?
Absolutely. So thanks for actually highlighting that post. There is a big story behind that before getting to these 3 mistakes. When I left Miro, one of the things I would like to explore in this independent path is like continuous research. I love research, you know, like just doing it myself, exploring how others are doing it. And I started with my ex-colleague this research around user onboarding, how other companies are approaching, what are the challenges they are facing, successful, not successful experiments. So we ran a big survey, and then we kind of condense that in a way of this onboarding report. And that screenshot is like just a little portion of that report. It's like 20 plus pages report that collects all of the insights we uncovered. And I think these top 3 mistakes, I will explain them, but this is just the top of the iceberg problem. There is a lot of beyond that.
There's a lot of mistakes that happen, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the common mistakes or misunderstandings is that I already mentioned that user onboarding is just the first session with the product. But user onboarding is the like very holistic experience. It starts when user starts looking for like solution to their problem on Google search, then website experience, then it's the sign up and registration flow, then it's the first session, of course, then it's the path to aha, and then it's the habit forming. So 6 phases of user onboarding. And yeah, so I think just to first to understand that this is a holistic experience, and whenever you are thinking about it from scratch or you're trying to rethink that, just first analyze your user onboarding like existing flow from this like end to end, and uncover potential improvements and uncover potential experiments. The second mistake was that companies are trying to find one solution that fits all and just introduce it and use it forever for user onboarding. Let's create the checklist, let's create the tutorial and use it for everyone. Product tours, oh my God, these tool tips here and there. And actually, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. We need to understand different mental models of our users. We need to understand what and in what format to deliver to them. Personalize it, of course. I personally haven't seen when one solution fits all works well. Personalization makes a difference, and it's hard to move the needle for activation. It's like such a stubborn metric, and the personalization can help to move the needle. Like very specific optimizational things can help to move the needle, and understanding where to introduce certain elements of your product, like templates experience, can move the needle. But if you just show all users all the templates, 200 templates that you have, it will not move the needle. So again, it's a very, very tactical optimizational area for this user onboarding. And can you remind me what was the third mistake, because I don't remember.
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, but let me just think about my fresh examples.
You don't need to quote the post directly, by the way. It's
because I'm just finishing the course on that topic, so serve user onboarding, and just finalized looking at a lot of homework. So also collected some examples. I think it's one mistake which is quite easy to fix, I think. When you, like, I don't know, just even think about the last time when you opened the product, when you already completed this registration flow, finally you're inside the product. What is happening? A lot of things are happening. So you're on the dashboard, let's say, of some complex product, and you have navigation here, you have some pre-filled content here, you have search, you have your profile, and you are really overwhelmed at that moment. You're not excited, you're not delighted. Sometimes companies think that, yeah, let's show them the product. You told us, Kate, we need to show the value. We are showing that value. This is our product. What do you want? But it's overwhelming for users.
We've all been there, I think, at one point.
Yep.
And one simple thing that everybody can do is just focus user on one simple, most delightful action that they can take just to start using it, and show it before overwhelming them with all the beautiful things they can do. So let's say recently I noticed that Dropbox introduced that as well. So when you finish registration flow, there is this model where you need to upload your file. So this is a very simple action. They are also showing it in a little, like, with a bit of visual delight. But it's the starting point. It's just one action. You don't need to go to settings. You don't need to fill out everything in your profile. You just need to upload the file just to get started. Some other products introduce starting with some template, or, just one simple and delightful action that can motivate your users explore the other potential features of the product, rather than just, showing all the possibilities and the product and just, figure it out on your own.
Yeah. Very interesting. I think, at the end of the day, I always pick Calendly as an example for some reason, just because it's such a, it's an obvious experience. It does one thing and it does it well, and you know what you're going to get out of it. And not every product can be as simple as Calendly. But every product can try and learn from those principles. And I think that's something you touch upon there. Make the value obvious, make the value tangible, and do that before anyone ever even gets close to your product, and then definitely double down when they land. Moving on to the next section. So this is where we kind of go into a little bit more rapid fire. So first, short answers, and then we go into real rapid fire. That's still to come. But we have a few questions we ask all our guests. And Clément, you can take the lead.
So what he said, it will be rapid fire later. So here is just like a bit more open questions, but let's try to keep them a bit more concise. So I would say, what's a controversial opinion you have?
Oh my God, controversial opinion.
Could be on growth design.
Okay. I love the example that we discussed with these credit cards, right? It's very controversial in a way that it's not ideal for end user. And I totally take the responsibility for telling that it's not ideal user experience. But at the same time, we have to make it work, and we have to adopt this to understand that, it can be successful for the business. So, it's a bit of trade-off situation here. And this is a controversial still for me, because I'm on this edge between like growth, business, and user experience. And I'm trying to balance here. It's not easy. Oh my God. It's like, I don't love it when I need to give some straightforward answer. But here it is. Like this situation is not that straightforward, and this is a controversial opinion I have.
It's a good one. All right, next one. What's your biggest or favorite fail?
Favorite fail. I can give an example also as we are talking about user onboarding. That was when we just started experimenting with the first sign up registration flow at Miro. And that time I was a pure user experience designer, like UI, UX, craft. I want to deliver beautiful pixels, less business oriented,
Yeah.
I think. And what we did, we delivered like beautiful sign up flow, I think. Also, somebody on Twitter mentioned it and said like, wow, you have such a cool sign up flow. So what was there? Like there were like, questions, just profiling information, invite your team, blah, 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 like generic flow. And on the side, there was the interface, like simulation of the board, some sticky notes, some cursors, just to show the value. Again, we are trying to follow in best principles, show the value, ask users, motivate them, voila. But what happened when we received the result? Every single step had a drop in completion of all of that information. Profiling, invite step dropped,
Yeah.
everything dropped, and it was unsuccessful. We started diving deeper into what happened, and we uncovered with these heat maps, just looking at what users did on these pages, that they started to interact with these cursors, with these sticky notes on the side, with all these previews that we've shown, but these were also animated previews. So they were really thinking that something is happening here, and they tried to click here and there.
It was too engaging.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was unnecessary, unhealthy friction that I named
So
it.
distracting the user from the
Yeah,
goal. Actually.
it distracted users from the core actions. And after that, it was very hard for me as a designer to kill all of that experience, just to remove all of that and just put your sign up flow on the center of the screen, showing the progress on top of the actual form, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, like progress bar, showing how many steps you have, showing the questions progressively, like first question, second question, etc., making it predictable. And we increase metrics, like and now if you look at a lot of signups flow, they all look more or less the same, and this is because of this learning. I think everybody knows that you don't need to put extra distractions. But it was the failure. Metrics dropped for a company like Miro, millions of users. It's like not a pleasant experience.
No pressure.
No pressure. But after that, like the learning came, right? And now everybody probably knows already about these best principles, but we had to learn it that way. Like about 5 years ago, it was not that straightforward.
That's a good one.
Perfect. All right. So for the next question, you cannot answer Miro, so I'm going to make it easier. So what is your favorite marketing or growth tool for 2024?
Marketing or growth tool? You mean for jobs to be done connected to
whatever you want.
Anything you use in your job that you love.
Okay, got it. Oh, we just had this discussion about Riverside, right?
Riverside is a good one. We're using it right now.
Yeah, so I think I love Riverside in a way of like thinking of the product experience and user experience. I love their differentiators and features in the paid plan. For example, this is why I also purchased the plan, because they have these magic clips that they can give you, like with AI. They are helping you become more efficient with this recording and podcasting. The quality of the product itself is also quite good. So if I just think of that and my day-to-day tool set, I think I love Riverside and what they are doing. Also because it's not that popular in this whole like POG successful companies. Like we all know them, Canva, Notion, Coda, I don't know, Miro.
Lots of big podcasters use them. So like proof in the pudding.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, cool. So let's move maybe to the kudos and the face palm. So here the idea is like, you give a kudo of the week and then a face palm of the week. So if you want, I can start. Then you have a bit of an idea. So I would say the kudo for me would go to the SaaS Talk Local. So we had a meetup was last Wednesday. So that's not going to tell most of what
bastard stole my kudos.
Hey, here we go. That's why I go first. And I think it was super nice to actually have all those SaaS people and founders in one room sharing about their stories and what they learn, what were the fuck ups, and basically it's a good way to learn from all those people. And Facepalm, then I'm going to give it to myself that we're talking about Riverside, is like last week we actually did 2 podcasts. So the first one, Yolene was hosting it. Everything went well using my laptop. And then I went for the second guest. And I forgot, I unplugged my laptop, which made my laptop go dark. And then we're missing like 40 minutes of recording with Iron Plan from my side. So
20 minutes.
Right.
It's not so bad. We recovered it somehow.
We recovered part of the sound, so we're going to manage to make it there. But yeah, the second podcast, so we're still learning. And I would say, yeah, that's probably this for me. So what about you?
It's also we need to share it somehow so Riverside will hear that. It's a signal when they can introduce some onboarding or education, just to make users more aware that this can happen upfront before it actually happens, and make it noticeable.
Because the problem is that then I move my mouse, like went back, and then I still see myself there, but apparently the recording was probably gone. But
exactly,
so you still have the feeling that you're in it.
Well, then I'm going to jump in with my kudos and Facepalm. My kudos also for the SaaS Talk Local, but a bit more specific on René Janssen, founder of Lepaya. He gave a really good fireside chat talking about the value of people. And I think it's something that you hear HR talk about it a lot, and people will say, yeah, people are really important, but it's rare that you see a founder. And of course, he is from the HR tech space, so makes sense. His whole company is about upskilling and coaching, but really that idea of take time to improve your leadership skills. And he gave a very interesting comparison where he said, generally, when it comes to leadership, we tend to overvalue the functional skills for that role and undervalue the leadership skills. And that was a really good one, really good insight. And I really appreciated that. As a Facepalm, I got to stop shitting on LinkedIn because I use them. I love to use LinkedIn. It's, the bread and butter of what we do. But I don't know why they're changing things that I don't really understand. They killed the creator view, which I kind of liked. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I liked the creator view. And also, they've now moved the way that you present services, and it looks very clunky and old Microsofty. And so it used to be this little subtle banner, and now it's like this big chunky thing. And so not a big fan of that. But I will give a shout out to LinkedIn in the next episode. So that's my kudos and Facepalm. Over to you, Kate.
All right. Yeah, interesting. I need to also explore what's happening with LinkedIn. Let's start with kudos. I think last week there was a post from Kyle Poyer and Lenny. Together, they created this post about first 90 days in a company and what you can do, what any growth leader or person in growth can do. And there is a beautiful picture synthesizing the insights from 25 people like Melissa Tan, other Elena Verna, other growth experts. And it was so easy to understand, easy to share, easy to get. One of the principles there was you need to introduce certain experiments, of course, just also exploring your sign-up flow by yourself, making this audit that I always suggest anybody who's joining the company to do first, but also to collect the document and start collecting all of your observations on potential opportunities for this product, and just creating it first for yourself to understand how it works, and then share it and drive some change. And that was the first kudos. Another kudos, it's in connection to that. One of my mentees started a new job at Loom, and it's now a part of Atlassian. And I was so proud of our process of working together, and that it happened this is a milestone for both of us, of course. And the fact that I could share this artifact that I found from Kyle and Lenny to this person and help this person become successful in the first 90 days. Nice. So I think that was great. The kudos of the week. The Facepalm, it's, I don't have an example connected to the actual product experience. I got used to this LinkedIn algorithm. I hate it, but I continue posting, and, all the time it's so unpredictable. But for me that week, it was my inbox. I opened my inbox. I tried to, reply to everybody on LinkedIn and by email for the last 1 week. And I couldn't make it happen. I still have a lot of things to cover, and probably I need to start using Superhuman or something else just to operationalize this inbox experience. But I don't think it will help me. I'm even exploring if there is like any solution to that. I cannot fully trust and rely AI to be honest in that sense. So this is why I don't know what to do. I just keep like looking like that at my inbox every single week and trying to reply to everybody.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and maybe one point there on the sign up, like number one tip, if you're applying for a job at a growth team, sign up before the application. And whenever I hired like a head of growth or a growth marketer or a growth manager, whatever role, or a designer, whatever, and they don't do the sign up, like why? Like that's how you show you're serious. But yeah, moving on.
Yeah. So the last section. So
last but not least.
Yeah, the rapid fire. So it's basically or questions on either or a short answer, so one word. Okay, so it's gonna go fast. Are you ready?
Oh my god, never ready for that, but yeah, let's do that.
All right. So, free plan or free trial?
Free trial, reverse trial.
Great team or great manager?
Great team.
Do you prefer dealing with sales or dealing with developers?
The second one was
developers or sales?
Developers.
Is product-led sales the future?
No.
What is the most important skill for working in product-led growth?
Growth mindset.
What is the biggest challenge while building a growth team?
Hiring.
And the last one, so one book that you would recommend.
I'm reading one right now. It's from Brené Brown, Atlas of the Heart.
Yeah.
I just love her, role model. Her writing is amazing. And it's not about tactical, practical, growth hacks and strategies, blah, blah, blah. It's about personal, and I just love it. And I think, if we care about this personal aspect of ourselves, of our team, then the magic can happen and great products can appear and we can build beautiful stuff. So I would recommend this book.
Nice. Perfect. Then I think we're good.
Thank you very much, Kate. Maybe before we leave off, is there anything you want to share with the listeners? Anything you want to plug? Anything you're working on that you want them to check out? You got 10 seconds. The floor is yours.
Oh my God. Elevator pitch. I'm creating the GrowthMates. So currently this is a podcast, but I'm trying to build something beyond just podcast. And we are approaching our first anniversary. And for that, we are creating the holistic product-led growth playbook that will collect different insights from our guests, also from the industry that I'm running the survey right now. And it's gonna be launched, I think, in the end of May/early June. So please stay tuned. You can subscribe to me anywhere. I will definitely share that. And I hope that this playbook is not just, the gift for ourselves and for this first anniversary to GrowthMates, but for everybody else who can use it, who can share it with their team, and who can find it either inspirational or practical. We are trying to combine both elements there. So that is the one thing probably I would like to share for today.
And we will put links to your LinkedIn profile, to GrowthMates, to everything in the show notes. So thanks a lot, Kate. It's been an awesome conversation.
Thank you very much,
great
Kate.
having you. Thank you.
Thank you.